request Ambassador Trigunait, sir, please take over. Give the whole thing. How do you see it from a larger diplomatic perspective, and especially for what it takes for us in India, whether we could be the interlocutor which the Middle East is searching for. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, sir, General Murthy, and it's a great honor and a privilege, General Shankar, to be part of this distinguished panel. And I am a great avid follower of your Ganesh Shot all the times.
Oh, thank you. And if that be so, I must invite you over to Ganesh out on the subject of your choice next. We will.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
And of course,
Yeah.
Dr. Michael Rubin, my friend, he's there. Before I start, let me just say while we were talking here, Prime Minister Modi has just tweeted. And let me read his tweet to you that will give you the way things are moving today, and which, of course, General Hasnan also referred to. He just tweeted at 6:18, which says that spoke to the president of the Palestinian Authority, Mahmoud Abbas, conveyed my condolences at the loss of civilian lives at the Al Ali Hospital in Gaza. We will continue to send humanitarian assistance for the Palestinian people, shared our deep concern at the terrorism, violence, and deteriorating security situation in the region, reiterated India's long standing principled position on the Israel Palestine issue. Now, this has just happened while we were uh, discussing here. Now, this clearly shows the India's outreach, which was also reflected in the three statements that came from Prime Minister Modi himself, as well as by the Ministry of External Affairs in the middle on this situation. What is our position on this very issue? Is there all through? We had we are thinking exactly where does world go from here. So you have to look at this whole situation. If you just look at this, a war between Israel and Hamas, I think we are not looking at the bigger picture. So until and unless you look at it as a problem between of the Palestinian issue, I don't see that we are going to arrive at any solution. Hamas is an expression of dissent. They use violence, committed violence. They don't recognize Israel as a state or its right to exist. But they have also been helped and supported at some time by Israeli leadership in order to confront Hamas, in order to confront Al Fateh and PLO. So they don't want a united Palestinian opposition which could take over some kind of a state or make a joint claim. Even 2020 elections, which after 2006, where Hamas has won, were not recognized, but 2020 again they came together, wanted to have the elections. Israel did not allow that to happen in East Jerusalem, which is supposed to be their capital. Now, in that kind of a scenario, what we are looking at is an expression of a confrontation and make a dent in Israel's invincibility. That was one of the objectives. Second objective was to derail the normalization process between Saudi Arabia and Israel. That could have happened in a month's time, 2 months' time. And both MBS and Netanyahu were talking a lot about this openly. So this has punctured it for a while. A major project, IMAC, which we are talking about, India is involved in that. That is also has been put on hold for some time now, will be, because what they have done singularly is they have recharged the Arab Street. For the whole of the Middle East, I would say, today, and the Palestinians, large number of them living abroad, the Arabs living abroad, and we are seeing the kind of demonstrations that this is happening. Now, why it is happening is not that Hamas has done anything good. Nobody likes Hamas, except Iran, Qatar, and Turkey. They are the three countries who are supporting them and they like them. Nobody likes Hamas, yet Hamas has emerged as a major player in this whole game and is going to impact the outcome of this war in any case. General Hasnan gave whether it will be decimated, destroyed, or whatever happens, but we don't know that. As long as they continue to hold those 200 hostages, I doubt very much that Israel will be in a position to go in and try to take them down. They might have some kind of a special ops or what, but going physically down under, it will be very, very difficult, and it will be unacceptable because Netanyahu's current position, not only domestically, but it is quite weak at the moment. And it was quite seen when Biden came down and flew down. to meet him, the body language of the leaders was pretty evident that there is something there which needs to be looked at. So I think that situation is still very dicey. But the moment it escalates, we are going to see the immediate escalation in the region. Iran is sitting pretty with its 3H uh, tools. The Houthis in Yemen, and they had brought down Saudi Arabia to the table. The Hamas and Hezbollah, both sides, they are covering Israel in that sense. So we might see a very difficult kind of a scenario. I always say that why India should be worried about it. We are worried because this is the most important region for us, for our own well-being, for our own stability, for energy security, for our economy, for our uh, trading, for the maritime routes, for our population, which is there 9 million people, expats. So their welfare is very important. If the war breaks out there, it will be impossible and there will be a massacre of all these fellows. So I think that it is extremely important for India. And so that's why what Prime Minister Modi has done is very balanced because both Israel and Palestine accept India as great friends. So, as I'm probably the lone voice, and I'm happy that General Hassan supports it, I always say that India must, in this particular region, go out and try to do something about it, not only talking, because this talking does not help anymore. You are just one of those statements. The countries, when Russia-Ukraine war happened, we said it's not an era of war. We were still sitting. My prime minister was calling phone and talking to him. We did not have a roving ambassador or a roving minister. But you see the Americans, how concerned they were. Blinken, Austin, everybody was around. And they've been there for 7, 8 days, and then followed by the President Biden's visit. Unfortunately, due to Oli, it did not work out well. Otherwise, there would be something. But one thing, as Michael Rubin is here, I would like to ask. I mean, the kind of policy the Americans are following is really beyond comprehension. Number one, that's the only country which has the leeway and leverage over Israel and Palestine at the moment to bring them, although its credibility with the Palestinians has reduced significantly and with the Arab world in general now. On the other hand, now when you are talking of the humanitarian supplies, okay, I can understand because of geopolitics, they wanted to oppose the Russia UAE draft at the UN Security Council. But there was no reason, essentially, to not support the humanitarian assistance provided under the Brazilian declaration. But even that has been shot down. But the USA was the only country which went ahead and vetoed it. Now, on the other hand, you are saying that I have spoken to Netanyahu and he has agreed to supply uh, the humanitarian assistance. Now, these are the kind of these double standards, or maybe some very smart policies there. I don't understand it, at least because the optics are very poor of this. So I think that this I have suggested in now just 2 3 minutes. I would like to say I've been talking about thinking which countries can have some kind of a leeway here and who can be heard. You know, if Saudi Arabia normalized the relations with Israel without taking into account the Palestinian questions in toto, the Palestinian issue would be dead. As simple as that. That was the last bastion of support for them. And therefore, it could have been a trigger for Hamas. You, Saudi Arabia is also the only standing wall for Israel. Once Saudi Arabia normalizes relations with Israel, many countries will follow in the region. And so, therefore, it is extremely important that Saudi Arabia has a certain limit. They have an Arab peace plan, which they had proposed. They are the custodian of the two holy mosques. They have a great influence over Palestine. In any case, they don't have much on Hamas. They don't like it very much. Then I suggested about Egypt. Another power in the region has a peace treaty with Israel, has a continuous collaboration with them in different fields. And then Brazil, I suggested, because Brazil is in this UN Security Council, is going to be the next G20 president, and therefore a continuity of some kind of an engagement with the major powers can continue. So then, of course, I agree with General Hassan. He suggested that we must also think about Indonesia, which is an important Muslim country and a powerful and a sixth, seventh large economy as well. And they are very much looking at a regional this thing. And they were also the G20 president before us. So I think that we need to develop some kind of thing, be on the go. If we don't have our ministers going, Prime Minister, of course, is talking now. Maybe he will talk to maybe Netanyahu also today or tomorrow. We perhaps can have a special envoys who can go and talk. If we lose, we lose. If we fail, we fail. But at least the world will say, most of the people in the Middle East I talk to, they say, we love India, we like India, we know what they want, but we don't know what they want really, what they want to do here. They're most welcome. Many of them, Palestinians, want us to discuss with them. And it's been a long history, not from now. From 1992, I have been dealing with this issue, and I know that it is continuing in this way. So thank you very much. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Ambassador. I think brought in a lot of points. The first issue, which actually you have reinforced, is that in this entire game plan, the Palestinian issue is the center of gravity. You solve that, and a lot of things fall into place, right? Then, of course, you raise the issue, which indirectly, which I call Israel says its aim of war as of now is to destroy Hamas. But the real question here is should Israel's aim to be to destroy Hamas or gain peace for Israel? Now, that's a larger question, which I think is important because the aim, as we say, selection and maintenance of aim is a fundamental principle of military operations, which I think is somewhere going around. And of course, you highlighted very clearly that the entire area is a tinderbox. I go with it completely. There's no two ways about it. And I also go firmly behind you and General Hasnain to say that India needs to send an envoy to both sides. I would say why one envoy? You probably have to send a couple of envoys, one to the larger Middle East and one to Palestine and Israel, and even probably build a bridge to Hamas or whoever is there in this thing. Because we need to talk. Because without that talking, those hostages are not going to come out, and right, and unless the hostages come out, Israel can't do much militarily either. For many enablements, we have to do that. And if the Chinese could send an envoy out there, why can't we, with the kind of leverages and civilizational and historical linkages we have in this region and with people, right? Like you said, we just can't be there and do nothing about it with all our expatriates and the kind of influence we have. And of course, the larger thing, more interesting thing which you have said, which I think which everyone has to ponder about, is the peace plan which you have to probably put in place. And that peace plan has to be put in place through the good offices of Saudi Arabia, Egypt, UAE, Brazil, India, and Indonesia. I think that's a nice combination which is coming out, which is a balanced combination, right? And probably a more neutral combination with a lot of influence to this thing. And we'll have to see how do you neutralize Iran, Qatar, and Turkey in this entire process. Because without their spokes, how do you neutralize that is the larger challenge, right? I think we've covered a lot of ground. General Gautam Murthy, sir, if you have any question or anything which you would like each of them to highlight, you could. Otherwise, we'll take some questions and move further.
I think this aspect of Netanyahu being weak, but however the government being a cobbled government, sworn enemies together, they're right now looking at this issue of how to get the hostages back. That somehow you are very right, General Shankar, in saying that Israel cannot move forward unless their hostages are back. Do remember that the Israeli soldier who was taken was held hostage for 5 years. So the ability of the Hamas to hold hostages at different places, even one hostage is one hostage too much for Israel. This is something that the Israelis understand. The streets of Tel Aviv understand this. They need their people back. That is the first and foremost aspect before they can think about wiping out Hamas or a larger peace plan or anything else. How does Israel get the hostages back? I think that is taking a lot of mind space of the Israelis as of now. We're looking into